Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Saturday evening to you all. Hope you guys are doing well out there and having yourselves a great evening, ending to your Saturday, a great weekend out there so far. I know it was a great day for me and my family. We had our soccer game at 9 a.m. For you folks that's been listening in about my soccer situation, I volunteered to be a head coach, soccer head coach, and we lost every single game except the very last game. It was like a storybook ending. It was beautiful. It was awesome. And we had a lot of fun, high energy, and it was almost kind of emotional for me. Didn't cry or anything like that, but I really bonded with the kids over the last few games, and really appreciate you folks praying with me, praying for me. I meant over the situation, as it was new for me. It was a challenge for me, and I definitely unlocked a part of me that I knew I had, but it was great just bringing it to the surface, if you will. So I appreciate that, all the prayers. But we're going to talk about some weather, obviously, in this video. Some active times between now and the next 24 hours is expected, and I'm really concerned about tonight for Florida, and then eventually, potentially, into the Carolinas, Eastern Carolinas tomorrow, especially Eastern North Carolina. So that's what we're going to break down. Right now, the severe weather threat has not technically increased up a category or anything like that, but it potentially could. So with that being said, if you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. If you guys got anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, definitely put it in the comments below so I can pray over it and so others can do so too. And if you ever thought about joining my channel, the join tab is right below the videos. I have almost 30 members that have joined my channel, and when you folks do that, it's unconditional. I don't have any merchandise or anything to give to these guys. They just choose to support me monthly by joining the channel, and it means a lot, especially as we get into these slower months of summer where the videos really get low views, just because there's not a whole lot to talk about. A lot of times there's not a whole lot going on, but I appreciate people who have supported me in that way. Thank you all for just viewing every single day, even if the weather isn't affecting your neck of the woods. With that being said, let's get rolling here. Water vapor loop. I mean, your eyes immediately go to this area right over the southeast, right? And they should. And this is the main system that we're going to be talking about. And I'm not going to leave you guys hanging up in the upper Midwest. I'm going to talk about y'all towards the end of the video. I'll have a timestamp up for that region. But the UP of Michigan is very sneaky, like going to get over 2 feet of snow in certain areas. At least that's what the National Weather Service is forecasting in the western UP of Michigan and in northern areas of Wisconsin. Pretty wild. But this is a huge complex area of storms right over Florida right now. And then another rejuvenation of some storms is going to fire up, and this will kind of sweep over the peninsula of Florida overnight tonight, and there will be a tornado threat with this, no doubt. And when I tell you tonight, I mean like the middle of the night. People are sleeping, and that's what we're here. We're here to give you an update, because I think a lot of people are going to think that what's moving over Florida right now is what the main severe weather threat was going to be. No, we mentioned 2 different areas to watch, and the Storm Prediction Center has been mentioning that too over the last 2 days. So we need to talk about that. Then we'll talk about the Eastern Carolinas too. Storm Prediction Center, this is between now and tomorrow at 12Z. So that's around tomorrow morning around 8 a.m., 7 a.m. Okay, that's when this outlook runs to, and then it starts the next outlook, which we'll talk about also for Sunday. Just the slight risk of as of now. This includes all the way up to southeast portions, the southeast coastline of Georgia through Jacksonville, Gainesville, Orlando, Tampa Bay, all the way to just about northern Miami. Miami's under a marginal risk technically. So what is this driven off of? Where if you look, I'm sorry, this was the wrong one. If you look at the tornado threats, that brown areas, that 5% risk, I could see this bumping up to a 10% risk here in the next couple hours. Okay, I just want to watch this. Just a 5% risk though of a tornado within 25 miles of any given location. Florida has been extremely active for the last 7 days. It's been wild. And then you still got the chance of hail, okay, the 15% risk, 1 inch of diameter or larger. And then the wind threat tonight continues. You got that 15% risk of winds pushing 50 knots or higher, 55 to 60 miles per hour. So this will continue. I don't want to totally discount the severe weather threat overnight into Georgia, into South Carolina and southeast North Carolina, because some of these rounds of showers and storms could have a spin to them to the overnight hours, especially as we get into tomorrow morning, which we'll talk about up here in South Carolina and North Carolina. But let's definitely focus in on Florida right now. Let's take a look at what the radar looks like right now over Florida. So you got this weakening mesoscale convective system, just a line of storms, big blob of convection. It looks kind of muted out here just because we have the National Weather Service. We have the radar out of Melbourne, Florida right now, so it's a little bit out of range for this area. But a lot of heavy rain, storms, nothing really severe, though, inland. You have severe thunderstorm warnings just east of Orlando. These are some powerful storms right along the eastern shoreline of Florida and just inland. These storms are firing up just like the HRRR model kind of said they would. And then this is weakening. There's kind of, it almost looks like there's a transfer of energy here. I think that there's got some cool air ahead of this, and it allowed for this area to weaken, which we kind of thought was going to happen. And this is kind of the dominating feature in Florida right now. But I'm telling you guys, if you're in Florida, please don't think this is it. This is not it. You're going to have another area of showers and storms that develops later on, sweeps across Florida. Later on, as in tonight. Okay, so that's what we're here to do. We're here to keep you guys aware, and I just don't want y'all to think that this area of storms moving through right now, this afternoon, later this evening, is the main show. I really don't think it is. In fact, let's talk about what I'm kind of worried about tonight for Florida. So we get this area on out. You get a few hour window of a clearing. It's around 9, 10, 11 p.m. tonight in Florida, and then low pressure moving through Alabama, about to enter Georgia, and with this, in that favorable quadrant of these low pressures, you have a pooling of deep, low-level moisture that is already here over Florida. But you get this, and then you got a ramping up low-level jet in response to a deepening low pressure to the north and northwest. So all these storms you see over Florida, northern Florida initially, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. This is your time frame. You keep on going. At this point, it's 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. People will be dead asleep, most people. All these storms will have a chance to be rotating because you're going to have a favorable wind profile aloft. You have a low-level jet, and you have that low-level flow, a lot of shear that's rotating these storms. This could be really congealed up. It's going to be, they could be rain-wrapped, and it's going to be nighttime, the most dangerous scenario. Please take this serious. Okay, take this 5% risk serious. It could get bumped up to a 10% risk. I would not be surprised at all here in the coming hours. But all these storms, they enter, I would say they develop along the Big Bend areas of Florida first, just after midnight, and then they become much more widespread by the time we get deeper into the wee hours in the morning. Like, you're starting to get to 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, and these storms will have some embedded supercells, which is the definition of a rotating thunderstorm moving through the entire peninsula of Florida. The only area that might get saved is maybe down here in Miami. But at this point, we're getting into about 7 a.m. The sun is starting to begin to rise in this region, and we're still dealing with nasty weather down here in southern Florida. And then the motion of these storms will begin to slow down here. So we will definitely have a rocky morning in southern Florida waking up for your Sunday morning. And all these storms, they could be rotating. Not every single one's going to be producing a tornado. But when I say these storms are rotating, they have a chance to produce a tornado. Take this round of storms later tonight very serious. You look at the ingredients going into this, and really it's the low-level jets. As these storms are kind of moving into the region, okay, you got a low-level jet that really re-ramps up, 50-knot low-level jet. That's winds, 55, 60 miles per hour, consistently raging about a mile above our heads in this area of Florida, okay? So this is a very favorable wind profile, very favorable kinematics. It's the weather term, nerd term there, over Florida. So it's going to have plenty of that kinematic element to these. And it's going to have some thermodynamics too. The only thing it might be lacking is just big-time surface heating, but this has all the makings of a nocturnal threat. Low-level jet overhead. You got Cape that rebuilds after the main surge of moisture that's over the area now. So you got Cape levels in the middle of the night, guys. Middle of the night, right after midnight, rising back over 2,000 joules per kilogram in the west coast of Florida and riding over Florida. So you're going to have a ton of storm fuel in this region for these storms to munch off of. Okay? So it's definitely something we should be concerned about. Don't freak out over, but you look at the significant tornado parameter, you get to around midnight, 1 a.m., it really rises down here kind of in central to the southwest areas of Florida, especially. I mean, you get STP readings of well over 5, 6, 7, 8 range. So this is just depicting the ingredients to the atmosphere that could support a tornado. That doesn't mean the more vibrant colors you see of purple and the higher numbers you see, this means you're automatically going to get a tornado. It just means the ingredients are definitely there. The ingredients are also there in southern South Carolina, just after midnight. I'll plan on chasing in South Carolina into North Carolina tomorrow. That is my plan for anybody wondering. I'm going to try to go live. I'm going to use tomorrow to test out some things because I would love to go live with you guys on the road. But anyways, back to this. The entire peninsula of Florida could be under the gun for tornadic thunderstorms, rotating thunderstorms. And this will continue, 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. And then finally it lessens somewhat as we get into tomorrow morning. So we need to take that serious. Please be aware of dangerous storms overnight tonight. Have your alarm set. Have a way to get alerts. Maybe wake up around 2, 3 o'clock in the morning just to check the radar, see where you're at, things like that. I know that's what I do for my family when we have an overnight severe weather threat. But tomorrow you have a marginal risk, and you can't see it, but it stretches all the way down to basically like Savannah, Georgia, all the way up to portions of the Delmarva. Then you got the slight risk right here. This is driven off a 5% risk of a tornado within 25 miles in a given location in this brown area. This could come down some, but right now it's pretty much centered over eastern North Carolina, up into the Norfolk area, Virginia Beach, southeast Virginia. Health threats, same, not very high, just that 5%. I'm sorry, this is a 5% risk of hail. And then the wind threat, there definitely will be a wind threat with these just because you're going to have the low-level jet really ramping just east of the low pressure, which will be going right over the Carolinas tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon. So you got that 15% risk of winds pushing 50 knots or higher, 55 to 60 miles per hour. So we'll start off at around midnight tonight. You got showers, numerous showers and storms that'll move in as early as later this evening. It's beautiful here in the Midlands of South Carolina right now, but I can look out my window and tell that it's starting to darken up outside. If anybody's wondering what the black dot behind me is, that's actually my cat. That's Kylo. Talk about Stormy. I got Stormy and Kylo, but he's just chilling. He's making himself at home. So if anybody was wondering what the weird black dot was behind my back. So, but anyways, you keep this heavy rain, showers, and storms moving. They get into North Carolina just after midnight. And you can't rule out some rotating storms here. Low pressures starting to enter the picture, but you can't rule out some damaging winds in some of these storms too. Low level moisture is really building into the region. The Outer Banks could have some severe thunderstorms into the wee hours of the morning tonight, well after midnight. What's wild to me, if this low pressure was riding over, say, just west of the Appalachian Mountains, you would have these dangerous storms moving over the eastern Carolinas in the middle of the night tonight into the early morning hours. But you don't. Thankfully, the low pressure is riding over here, so it keeps a lot of these nasty storms off the coastline. But we have to watch if they can move on shore into the far eastern Carolinas. There could be a tornado threat early in the morning in the eastern North Carolina. I could see it, especially really hugging the coastline. And then what we watch here is, we got this area down here that we watch. We watch here, surface low spinning here. This is where a triple point will really develop in South Carolina. You'll have some storms along a low pressure. They'll be somewhere in this area. These storms move in. This looks like it's going right over my neck of the woods late morning. And this is basically where that triple point happens. So it's basically where you have the warm front that's rising north, the trailing cold front coming in from the west, and basically where you have your best forcing. So I really think you're going to have an area of storms that develop sometime tomorrow morning, move through the Midlands of South Carolina. They're starting to get fired up. I think that these will have a chance to be spinning. I would watch for an isolated tornado threat right along the central Midlands into the eastern Midlands to the PD of South Carolina tomorrow morning into early tomorrow afternoon, especially as you get into the PD. And then this is when the 5% risk of a tornado kicks in. Eastern North Carolina, you're around 2 p.m. You're starting to get into the afternoon. Daytime heating really starts kicking in. Low-level jet is absolutely ramping up right in this region. And this is when the storms into this region could really potentially be rotating in this area. It's a very small sector because, well, it's large, but a very small section of this sector is over land because the low pressure is just plowing through the Carolinas. Like I said, if it was plowing away over here, you would have a massive area right in here that could be undergone with some significant storms. Okay, but just the placement of the low pressure is pivotal here. But I would watch all these storms right in here. I would say basically from Fayetteville up to Raleigh, points east, all the way into southeast Virginia. This could be more of a linear look. You could have semi-discrete supercells. It's going to be a tough one to figure out, but I really do think you could have some nasty weather early into the mid-time tomorrow afternoon time frame, and then the sector moves off. Some dry, cold air aloft moves through, and I think it's possible you could have, and some of these storms could be rotating too, but when the cold front sweeps through along the actual cold front that really brings in the dry air, you could have some more cells that push through the Carolinas. Very isolated in nature, but they could produce some hail for sure. And then it gets cold enough behind this where you could get some snow flying in the mountains late tomorrow night. I think it's certainly possible. But, you look at the ingredients with this, you can really see the triple point being met as we're getting into overnight tonight. You watch right into this area, the big dew point surge, dew points in the 50s in the upstate of South Carolina, where there will be probably no severe weather threat. But you see the eastern Carolinas at around 8 to 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, dew points well above 65 degrees, and a very, very moist air. But you look at the dry air coming in fast, and then it comes in, sweeps in, and then completely dries out and stabilizes the atmosphere. And then we enter a beautiful stretch of weather coming up for a large portion of the country. It's going to feel more like April rather than the first few days of May. It's going to be some cool, crisp mornings and some beautiful temperatures during the week. And we'll talk about that probably the next day or so, how beautiful a week it could potentially be next week. But we'll look at Surface Cape. I don't like looking at Surface Cape too much, but I think it does a great job really showing the triple point being met right over here over the central and eastern Midlands, where Cape really spikes here along the low pressure. And I think you could have a tornado threat right in here tomorrow morning, late tomorrow morning. And then we'll watch how much the Cape rises, how much the atmosphere destabilizes in eastern North Carolina tomorrow. And then along the front, you'll have a spike in moisture probably and a spike at Cape. And then you will have a risk of maybe some strong storms along the front. Low-level jet, this is really a big story here. You pretty much don't have hardly any kind of low-level jet right in here. But it really ramps up, I would say, into tomorrow. Let's make sure we have, all right, yeah, we got it in motion now. But you got a lot of favorable low-level wind profiles in the eastern Carolinas. All the way starting out tomorrow morning, you'll have a ramping low-level jet moving over eastern South Carolina. And I'm not trying to ignore Georgia. I know I haven't talked much on Georgia, but Georgia will kind of be the in-between state. I definitely think overnight tonight sometime you could get an isolated spin-up, some gusty winds, severe weather. But I think it really is going to be bad in Florida. It could potentially be bad in Florida tonight, and then it ramps up for the Carolinas tomorrow, especially North Carolina. But you got a 40, 50 knot low-level jet riding over the eastern areas of the South Carolina, and then it really ramps up to 50, 55 knots, 60 knot low-level jet into the eastern areas of North Carolina. A lot of favorable kinematics rides over this region. So they're going to have a chance to spin. The tornado perimeter does not look all that impressive, but already at about 2 o'clock in the morning, you got a values of 1 and 2. I know you're thinking, Mitch, that's not a lot, but if anything over 1 supports, is saying, hey, there's some ingredients for tornadic development. Okay, so you keep going here. This will try to spike again, and then here comes this favorable area in the far eastern sections of North Carolina. You look at the NAM, and I meant to have this up to compare it better. The NAM is a lot more aggressive with this. Okay, and I wish I had more time to compare and contrast the NAM with the HRRR model, but I will tell you, the NAM really likes more of a tornado threat with this. Starting off, as early as, southeast Georgia, really ramping up along that warm front that triple point in eastern South Carolina, and then again in eastern North Carolina, and then in southeast Virginia tomorrow afternoon. So that's because the NAM is it has the low pressure a little bit further west, and that makes all the difference because you bring more ingredients further west when the low pressure is further west, if that makes sense. Let's talk about the winter weather threat in the upper Midwest. Pretty wild how this kind of snuck behind me a little bit, but a winter storm warning up for 2 counties in Wisconsin. 1 county has a winter storm watch, and you got winter weather advisories surrounding it. And really this is because, and we can actually see if we can pull this up on the fly here. Let's go up to the Duluth radar up here in Minnesota and see what they're reporting. But a lot of just kind of scattered about showers, things like that. Let's see if we can pull up what people are reporting up in this area. And there's already reports of some snow. Somebody's even reporting a little bit of hail. Remember I mentioned this morning some of these showers could produce a little bit of hail, and it's happening. And guys, please don't think I'm tooting my own horn when I do that, guys. I just I hope nobody's caught off by surprise or anything that it's hailing over there. Definitely a lot of cold air, but you got reports of snow in these regions, mixed of rain and snow. I expect this region to really switch to some heavy snow sometime later tonight, and then it'll be on like Donkey Kong up here, that's for sure. So this is a pretty wild storm system to kind of wrap up the last couple days of May. You take it out through the overnight hours. This is overnight tonight. It's about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. HRIPR model has it snowing like crazy in northern Wisconsin, the western UP of Michigan. You're waking up tomorrow morning, snowing pretty good. We'll see how hard it actually is snowing in this region. This will be some heavy wet snow. Last day of May, it is snowing like crazy in the UP. Western UP, and then the far northern few counties in Wisconsin. You get all the way into tomorrow afternoon, it's still snowing. And then you got another area right here that tries to really crank up here, wants to snow like crazy late tomorrow night into the wee hours of the morning, Monday morning in Green Bay. And then just, I don't know if I believe all this, and the National Weather Service doesn't either. But this is between now and Tuesday morning, guys. I mean, they're going for over 2 feet of snow in certain areas of the UP of Michigan. It's just unreal. And it's funny how nobody's really talking about this in the weather world. But the National Weather Service is very bullish with this. In fact, you look at the blend of all models. Well, never mind. The blend of all models is pretty insane too. So, you guys, I'm sorry, and I guess all you can do really is just embrace it. But lucky for you guys, it's going to be May. Justin Timberlake style, and lucky for you guys, sun angle, quick warming up, all this snow will melt pretty darn fast. That's all I got, guys. Stay safe in Florida tonight. I will not have a video tomorrow morning. Good chance I won't have a video tomorrow night either. I'll be storm chasing. I'll be in storm chasing mode. So definitely stay tuned for that if I go live. It's going to be a tricky setup. I don't really have a game plan because it's kind of everywhere, but I really want to stay kind of close to home just in case something happens tomorrow morning. So God bless all y'all. Stay safe tonight, and I'll talk to you soon.